What's up you guys, it's 2Bricks, and today I'm going to be showing you the next batch of progress that I've made on my large-scale Firefly class Serenity ship. And it's a fairly substantive update today because the last time that I showed anything it was just the cargo bay on the bottom and the little bit of the cockpit there. And now we have the whole kind of top assembly that attaches onto the top of the cargo bay, the wings, the beginnings of some engines, and this little adorable Inara's shuttle down here as well. So I'm going to be showing you guys all of that stuff up close. What are the new kind of action features that I have built in, and what are the new kind of developments and things that I'm figuring out, because I am figuring out a lot of this stuff on the fly. So we're kind of going on a journey of discovery together. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at what's new. Alright, so let's take a look at the main updates to the ship itself. You can see obviously we have some wings sticking out of the side, and the wings are attached to a frame that goes around the whole top of it, and that's resting on top of the cargo bay, and it's designed to be a separate module. So I have a little, this little kind of pin right here that you pull out, and then I have some pins off to the side. There's one here and one there. I haven't actually designed, the mechanism that's going to kind of keep that in place yet. I've done a little bit more work on this one, obviously, since it has a stopper and all that. But then this entire top section will, it's a little difficult with one hand. There you go. This entire top section will come off and leave the cargo bay behind. And there it is, reattached. So that's something that I always wanted to have since the beginning, is the ability to detach the cargo bay as its own module, because so much of the drama, like I mentioned before, kind of unfolds in the cargo bay. It's where Kaylee gets shot. It's where Badger and his crew come and hold the crew hostage. And there's so many different things from the show, and I really want people to be able to stage little scenes in there separately. And it's really difficult to do. I mean, obviously you can look in here and you can reach in here with your hand and stuff, but to actually really get in there and use it as a playable space is a really tricky thing to do unless you can separate it out from the rest of the ship. So what will probably end up happening is once, when this is separate from the cargo bay, there will be some kind of leg or a strut that will come down that will, be equal in height to the cargo bay, that will just keep everything supported when this isn't attached. But the cool thing about having this frame in here now is that I have a little latch that can hold on to the cargo bay door. So it's just got the ball joint into the double clip mechanism or technique in there. So I like that. The wings themselves, I'm taking inspiration from various different models of the Serenity, but I'm not being too slavish to any one particular version. I'm just trying to get the spirit, as that's what I tend to do with all of my models. I try to capture kind of the essence of it without being too tied down to the details. But the shape is right. The width and the length and all of that of the studs I measured out using my 3D program that I use. So that's all correct. And then we see at the end here, I'm starting to figure out something for the engines. So with that, like I mentioned before, it's really important to be able to get the engines to move up and down as they do in the show. They're going to be built pretty hollow and pretty light as I can possibly make them, to just reduce the stress on the wings overall. So, over time, there's not too much sag happening in here. One of the next things I have to figure out is this whole section, which houses the landing gear. It's going to be kind of a big box that plugs in under this section right here. And then there'll be some kind of additional support beam under this wing that will just keep it really secure. I mean, right now it has a Technic structure all throughout, and it's fairly sturdy, but I really want to make sure it's 100% shored up, so that if you have the model sitting on your shelf over time, it doesn't just begin to droop down. Nobody likes a droopy wing. That's no fun. So coming around to the back, we can see I'm just kind of leaving myself a lot of attachment points for what's ultimately going to be the Firefly drive section. There's going to be this big old ring around here, and then the whole engine is going to kind of come off of here. So I definitely want to make sure that this is going to be an exceedingly strong structure back here. So there's going to be the same kind of thing I did for my T-Rex, where it's going to be there's going to be a Technic structure that comes down sideways that gets pinned in to all of these, and then that's going to, be what attaches into the engine. There's going to be a lot of long Technic pins and things that come through and hold everything together. So I haven't figured all of that out yet, obviously, since I'm doing it kind of as I go. But that's going to be very, very sturdy indeed. Something I do want you guys to see is that I'm attempting to make this thing as light as possible and as strong as possible, so that when you have the whole thing built, you'll be able to maybe not swoosh it around exactly, but you'll have definitely a much easier time moving it around than some of the Ultimate Collector Series LEGO models, where they're very large and very unwieldy and kind of fragile. My goal is for you to be able to just pick this up with 2 hands and just easily plop it where you want it to be. So yeah, we'll see how that winds up being achieved towards the end once this thing really starts to take shape and gets super heavy, but as of right now, that's working out. Something I had mentioned in a previous video is trying to figure out if there is a way to suspend the Flying Mule up in this cargo area. And the more I think about it, the more I don't think that's going to be an option, because essentially I want to have as much playable space as possible in the kind of dining room common area. And so I want to have as much height to that as I can. So I really want to have the floor to that essentially be at this level, and that's going to interfere with where the mule would technically have to be. So I want to kind of just make it so that the mule can either be loaded in through the front door, which it can fit if you fold down the wings, and then you can just kind of place it in through the front door, or that you just remove the cargo bay, place it in there, and then put it back, and that it just kind of lives in there. So yeah, I figure that for display purposes, most people will either want to see the mule out in front as its own kind of little side build, or have the door open and maybe have it on its way out or something like that. But the logistics of trying to have some kind of suspended area in here for it to be up in the roof or in the rafters here, I don't think that's really going to work out, which is a shame. But compromises must be made when you're trying to create something with this balance between displayability and playability. Alright guys, so let's take a look at Inara's shuttle. Inara is actually inside of it right now, which is something that was really important to me, even though this thing is so tiny, and the whole project is a half minifig scale, and the shuttle's already pretty small, so I knew that this would be a challenge, but I really wanted to be able to at least put a figure inside of it and have it appropriately scale to the exterior of the Serenity. So that's what I managed to do, and I'm pretty happy with it. I really like how the shuttle has kind of like it's like a Funko Pop version of Serenity, where it's got the same kind of identifying features. I love the fact that the face is very similar, but it's obviously tiny, which is just like a cool design thing to me. I mean, a lot of times I feel like the shuttle has a different look to the mothership that it belongs to, but I think it's really cool that they just kind of made it a scaled down, cutesy version of Serenity. So yeah. It's got the wings that fold in, and the wings actually tuck into the hull. There's a little gap right here, just a single plate of thickness, and then the wings don't have any studs, so they're able to just slip right in there, which is something that was tricky to figure out, but it's something that's in the real design as well, so I wanted to definitely have that. The entire kind of front and then roof and then back hatch section just hinges forward to give you access to the interior. But actually there's only 2 studs connecting the roof, so it's easier to just pull that right off if you want to take a look inside. So you can see Inara is in her sleeping quarters right now, and I tried to pack as much detail into here as I could given the very, very tiny space. So in the front you can see there's a seat for the pilot and a little console for them to be able to pilot this shuttle, and you can see out of the front window here as well. The unfortunate thing about this arrangement is that the ceiling is too low for a figure to actually be able to sit in there, because the clearance just isn't there for the roof to be able to do that. But at least I have an indication of where the pilot would sit, and I've kind of decked out the interior to look, to have kind of the red fabric and drapery and like kind of cut and detail that that Inara has in there, and I'm just kind of implying that these are her sleeping quarters. And you can see I've kind of switched out her outfit a little bit, where I've given her the matching legs from that Ninjago figure that I took this initially from, and that's so that I can, you know, lie her down and have her, you know, be in there. And then I created this little spot in here, especially to accommodate her dress when she's not wearing it, the skirt piece. So I like that it almost becomes like part of the design of the interior when it's in there like that. So it just studs into that single stud. On the one side, I have a little spot for her to put her fan, and then on the other side, I just have a little dresser drawer thing, and a teacup, because Inara's often, you know, she's often got some kind of herbal tea or something that she's drinking. So yeah, it's the most bare bones, minimum kind of interior that you could have, but it was really important to me to have something in there if I could, and you know, still keep everything kind of to the correct size proportions relative to Serenity. And yeah, and that's, you know, again, compromises and challenges when trying to create something that's not truly minifigure scale, but it's really fun. I think the way this turned out, I'm pretty happy with it. The face is a little flat, like it should technically have kind of the same sort of you know, angle to it where it comes up in the middle. But since it's so small, I think you can kind of get away with the flatness on this, and from a distance you definitely know what you're looking at. And I think, you know, with the wings out, it's got a pretty good look to it. It's fairly close to the real thing. So yeah, pretty happy with this. And of course, if you want to dock it with Serenity, I have a little spot right here on the wing, and there's just a couple of plates on the bottom, and that allows you to just key it into this, this part right here. And once it's in, it's very secure. And, you know, as I'm going to be creating the rest of Serenity, there's a kind of custom cutout in this section of the ship. And then I'm going to try to kind of create a little area to sort of clamp down onto the top of the shuttle once it's in there, so that once it's in, it won't be going anywhere. But, you know, as for right now, it's secure enough where I can move this around and it's not going to fall off. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think it looks great as a little accompaniment to the ship. And I think it works out really well on its own as well. All right, so things are really starting to take shape now. I hope you guys are enjoying seeing me kind of figuring out the build process in real time. I really hope to bring you guys updates as soon as possible. You know, I'm basically going between deciding if something is substantial enough to show you guys, or you know, wondering sometimes, am I building too much? And then you guys are going to kind of miss out on the in-between stages. So there's always a balance there. But I think, yeah, I think the next time that you see this, hopefully there will be a full-on deck out here where I'm going to start to place in some of the interior details for the dining area and all of that stuff. And, you know, maybe the suggestion of starting to figure out the neck and thinking about how to get this head attached to the ship, which is going to be a structural nightmare. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I will come back with an update as soon as I have one. And if you guys are enjoying following the series so far, I'd really love a comment from you guys to let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, and I'll just see you guys on the next video. So stay shiny until then, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, you guys.